My best friend's widow showed up a year after he died. I need to tell you what he asked of me. For a full year after my best friend Daniel died, I avoided anything that reminded me of him. His favorite coffee shop, the fishing lake where we'd spent countless weekends, even the old voice messages I'd saved on my phone. Every memory felt like a wound that refused to heal. Daniel wasn't just my friend. He was the brother I never had. We met in middle school, survived awkward teenage years together, celebrated promotions, breakups, weddings, and every major milestone life could throw at us. And then one rainy evening, a drunk driver changed everything. One phone call, one terrible moment, and Daniel was gone. I stood beside his wife, Emily, at the funeral. I watched her try to stay strong while holding their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. I promised I'd help however I could. But after the funeral, life drifted apart. Emily focused on raising Lily. I buried myself in work. Months passed, then a year. The grief became quieter, but it never truly disappeared. One Saturday morning, I was sitting on my porch drinking coffee when I heard a car pull into my driveway. I looked up. My heart nearly stopped. It was Emily. I hadn't seen her in months. She stepped out of the car, looking nervous. Something about her expression made my stomach tighten. I stood and walked toward her. "Is everything okay?" She nodded, then shook her head. "I don't know." That answer only worried me more. She held a small wooden box against her chest, the kind of box people use to store important keepsakes. Her hands trembled slightly. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Of course." We sat on the porch. For several moments she simply stared at the box. Then she finally looked at me. "What I'm about to tell you, Daniel wanted me to wait 1 year before saying anything." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" She opened the box carefully. Inside were letters, dozens of them. My name was written on one envelope. I immediately recognized the handwriting. Daniel's. My throat went dry. Emily swallowed hard. A few months before the accident, Daniel found out something. I stared at her. "What?" Tears filled her eyes. "He was sick." I blinked. "What?" "He was diagnosed with a serious heart condition." The world suddenly felt silent. I couldn't process what she was saying. "Why didn't he tell me?" Emily looked down. "He didn't tell anyone except me." I felt anger mixing with grief. Daniel and I told each other everything, or at least I thought we did. Emily continued. "The doctor said surgery could help, but there were risks." I stared at the letters. He didn't want people treating him differently. My hands shook. "So he kept it secret." Emily nodded. "Then he started writing letters." I looked at the envelope bearing my name. "What do they say?" She smiled sadly. "He wanted people he loved to hear his thoughts if something happened." My chest felt heavy. She handed me the envelope. For several seconds I couldn't move. Finally, I opened it. Inside was a folded letter. I recognized every curve of Daniel's handwriting. The sight alone nearly broke me. I unfolded the paper and began reading. "Hey, idiot." A laugh escaped me through unexpected tears. That sounded exactly like him. The letter continued. "If you're reading this, then life didn't go the way I hoped." My vision blurred. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life isn't measured by years. It's measured by people. I paused. Emily quietly wiped away tears. I kept reading. "You've been my brother longer than anyone else in my life." My chest tightened. "You stood beside me when I got married. You stayed when I lost jobs. You answered every late-night phone call." I swallowed hard. "Thank you." 3 simple words, yet they hit harder than anything else. Then I reached the final paragraph, and everything changed. "There is one favor I need from you." I looked up at Emily. She was already crying. Slowly, I continued reading. If I'm gone, look after Emily and Lily. Not because they're helpless. I smiled faintly. That sounded like Daniel. But because they'll try to carry everything alone. I paused. The words felt painfully accurate. The letter continued. Make sure Lily remembers how much her dad loved her. I wiped my eyes. And make sure Emily remembers she deserves happiness. The final sentence made my hands shake. Even if that happiness someday comes from someone else. I lowered the letter. The porch was silent. Emily stared toward the street. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. For a year I've carried this alone. I looked at her. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because he asked me not to. I nodded slowly. That sounded exactly like Daniel. Always planning, always thinking ahead. Emily opened the box further. There were letters for his parents, for Lily, for relatives, for friends. Each one carefully written, each one filled with love. For the next 2 hours, we sat together reading, laughing at old memories, crying at forgotten stories, remembering the man who had touched so many lives. Point. Emily pulled out another envelope. This one was for Lily. She handed it to me. Inside was a birthday letter Daniel had written for her future 10th birthday. Then another for her 15th. Then another for her graduation. I couldn't believe it. He had prepared years of messages, years of love, stored inside a simple wooden box. That evening, Emily invited me to dinner. Lily was older now, taller, yet she still had Daniel's smile. When she saw me, she ran over and hugged me. Mom says you came to read Dad's letters. I nodded. She smiled. I like reading them. My heart nearly shattered. After dinner, Lily showed me a scrapbook filled with photos of Daniel. Every page held memories, fishing trips, birthday parties, family vacations. As we looked through them, something changed inside me. For the first time in a year, remembering Daniel didn't only hurt, it also felt comforting. Like he wasn't completely gone. Like pieces of him still existed everywhere. In his daughter, in his wife, in the people he loved. Over the following months, I became more involved in their lives. Not because of obligation. Because I wanted to. I attended Lily's school events, helped fix things around the house, shared stories about her father whenever she asked. Sometimes we'd laugh until our stomachs hurt. Sometimes we'd cry. But we always remembered him together. One evening, nearly 2 years after Daniel's death, Emily and I sat on the same porch where she'd first brought the box. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. She looked at me quietly. You know, she said, I think Daniel knew exactly what he was doing. What do you mean? She smiled softly. He knew the people he loved would take care of each other. I thought about that. About friendship, family, loss, and love. Then I looked at the wooden box sitting beside us. The box that had carried Daniel's final gift. Not money, not secrets, not instructions, but something far more valuable. A reminder that love doesn't end when someone dies. It continues through the people they leave behind. And sometimes, the greatest legacy a person can leave isn't what they owned. It's the lives they touched, the friendships they built, and the hearts that continue beating because they were once loved by them. Beyond the horizon, I smiled. For the first time in a long time, the grief felt lighter. Not because Daniel was forgotten, but because he never would be. And in that moment, I realized something. Some friendships don't end with death. They simply find a new way to live on.